So I'm Paula Bray, the manager of the Visual and Digitisation Services team here at the museum. And when I started thinking about this presentation and the title that we have, which is kind of like, what's next? Clearly, we've digitised and what's next is not really going to happen, is it? But I really wanted to focus on, rather than showing some examples first, which I had done, I wanted to kind of focus a little bit on what's next for us. So I kind of got thinking about how, you know, museums are going through incredible change, and that we have these audiences that are becoming really savvy with technology, and this is really changing the way that our audiences are consuming our content. So I wanted to set the tone a little bit for what that means for us in terms of digitisation. Okay, so what is the next step? Do we have a clear mission for next steps? I'm not sure that we can really answer what's next in terms of technology, and I think, you know, Kira and I were joking before, saying we'll come in here and tell you what's next and then we'll go. And it's like, we don't know. We don't know what technology is going to bring in the next year. We've seen a rapid change in audience behaviour in the past couple of years with devices, website access, a whole range of things. And I think, you know, audiences are becoming particularly savvy, and I think they have this expectation now, whether it's not through museums and galleries having their content online, but there is this expectation that they can get your stuff. There's this tug of war. We know you have it, we want it. All right, so what's the future museum with content, you know? And I think this crosses beyond digitisation, that our content be accessible, connected, it will allow for participation, it'll be responsive, it will be shareable, it will be remixable. You can see Jeff's example of remixing from a long time ago. That need still exists today, maybe more so. So we think about some of the things that are in our strategic plan. Where to be an open museum, open to rich engagement and new conversations, not afraid to experiment. Pretty pertinent with the Copyright Act, I would say. Boundaries. Okay, we need to think about boundaries with web programs and exhibitions as dissolving. Content is going across all of these platforms, and the way that the visitor uses them is really changing. People have devices. People expect new interactions with content within our gallery spaces and online. Open access is becoming the norm, and we're accepting failure a little bit more, I think, in some circles. But as long as we learn about what some failings are, particularly within digitisation. So what's this done for us? What's this changed for museums and galleries and our content? Well, a lot, really, because this is what our audience wants. They want to be able to remix our content, share it, and reuse it. So we've just had a session on copyright. Do we think the Copyright Act will allow for that stuff to happen? No. So I think museums need flexibility here. And I think that, you know, we need to take risks. Because if we don't put our content online or in our gallery spaces that is in copyright, we're going to have skewed collections. Skewed collections online, skewed collections in our gallery spaces. These are not representations of who we are if we just put up all our no copyright restriction stuff or stuff that we've got a contract for. And I know that that is really challenging. But as we move and away from websites where our content exists on one platform, we're already in web presences. Okay, so we can't just think about websites. You may not be able to have the funding to put up a website, but you can have a web presence. And our communities are really wanting to co-curate. They want to be participatory with exhibitions, content sharing. This is how they're thinking. This is their expectation. And look what they can do. These people are amazing. This is our future audience. And, you know, you spend 5 minutes with like a 5-year-old and an iPad. You know, it's incredible. You know, so you think about that kid, right? Think about where they're going to be when they're 5. You think about the fact that there's technology that can allow deeper engagement, whether it's online, in your gallery spaces, that they know that technology will allow this deeper layer to come forward. They want to get social. They want to start conversations not only with us, but through conversations with our content with other people. And sharing stories. This is really important. You know, ask yourself, why are you putting your stuff online? So, directions. What is it that we should be looking at? And I've been thinking, and it's come up a lot this morning, missions and aim, critical to your organisation. Know your audience. Why are you digitising for them? Are you digitising for a specific audience? Are you choosing collections for specific reasons? I think it's really important to think about these things. Where are you heading with your digitisation and access? Does it meet the missions of your organisation? Not what the Powerhouse has done, not what the State Library's done, but your organisation. But evaluate what you've done. You know, look at where things haven't gone so well. You know, maybe you know, the metadata wasn't great, but you can evaluate how that was used online and then learn from that as you move forward. Okay, so now I'm going to talk a little bit about the stuff we've done in context of what's next, or what we think is next. Okay, so we've kind of in the past been thinking about our digital experiences and presences through a kind of a 5-pronged thing. And it does cut through in why you should be digitising, I think. And everyone should have a top 5, and they may be completely different to this. But we think things should be findable, meaningful, responsive, usable, shareable, and available. And if you can kind of pull back your projects and aims of around digitisation and access into a consolidated top 5, at your vision, your strategy for your organisation, it makes it really easy to think about what you should be doing. Access means a whole range of different things for different people. So you know, if you did have a top 5, what would it be? So we put our collection online quite a long time ago. We've now got over 100,000 images in there. You know, we're kind of one of the first, I think, to do this. We've now got an API which allows people to take our content and do amazing things with it. We've seen some examples. Someone produced this Flip Explorer at a Gov 2.0 task force mashup with our content, and they won Honourable Mention Award. Our content is existing in other platforms, web presences. So Digital New Zealand have used our content that relates to New Zealand in their website. Just a couple of small examples. This is the result of how we scan our glass plate negatives. We use Zoomify on our website, and that's the detail that we can get down to. Now, we chose to do this because we realised that initially our plates were scanned from the copies of the prints rather than the glass plate negatives. Now, that was okay, and we put a lot of those photographs up in Flickr because we had them at the time, which is great. But we've realised now we can go back and just do them at a really big file size, and that's just one of the benefits of that file size. But I think, for me, the exciting thing about doing that is that people can zoom in and see the stories within the glass plate negative. So there's multiple stories, multiple kind of things going on with one glass plate negative. And this is just an example. I just think it's a really lovely story. Someone got in contact with us. They said, I'm a descendant of this family, but there's one thing missing. There's a child that I know. There were 4 children. Through Zoomify, we found little George. I'll go back. There, on the chimney. There he is. So we updated our records so that all this information could go back into EMU, and there it is, we changed the title. But that's just such a lovely little story about, you know, the benefits of access. We have lots of them. This has been a big change for us. It's been going for quite a few years now, but it really has made us think about what this means. And for us, it's not about the views. We've had over 4 million views on about 2,000 images in Flickr Commons. But it's these things that make us think about our projects and our digitisation. These are the things that are coming back. We're pulling the tags back into our website. We're sharing the stories that people create around some of the content. It's not like verified content by a curator, but it's a story, and it's someone's story, and it's passion. Innovation. So from innovation, like we've been mapping our content in Flickr, and people have been creating some pretty innovative projects using technology. This is a couple of years old now. This guy went on to use Google Street View to do a mashup of our content in real time, and then gifted that back to the museum. No money going on there, it was just pure love of having access to content. People have made beautiful explorers out of Flickr APIs with Flickr Commons. We've had people contact us saying, hey, we want to use your stuff in an augmented reality app. You've got some awesome stuff around Sydney. Yeah, sure, we'll help you. What file do you want? So we've gone on to work with these people a little bit more. So partnerships are one result of us putting our content out there, which has kind of a lot of value for an organisation. We've seen some incredible citizen location identification. So we couldn't map Mossman Bay Falls. We put it out there to Flickr, and within half an hour this guy had found where it was. He posted all about it, shared it back on Flickr, and then we went on to become a friend of this person, and we learnt a lot about who he is, why he wants to use our content. And we've just found out that through these connections and conversations, he now comes to the museum quite regularly and brings his son. And we invited him to do a Father's Day talk here around our collection. So there's this, you can see, micro, but really it points to the macro. We've had so many accounts of people remixing and then sharing that content back with us. And then we decided to post a lot of that content on Photo of the Day. So Photo of the Day became a blog 5 years ago that we would share our photographic stories and collections, and we soon realised that it needed to be two-way. It needed to have conversations with our connected audience who are passionate around our content, using our content, and then sharing stories back with us. So we've had regular writers for Photo of the Day, people coming into the museum taking photographs. We share their photographs. We co-create with them. There's just a couple of stories that people have gone to some great lengths to find out where our photographs are taken and the stories around them. And we've posted most of those back, which led us to change policy here at the museum about our photography collection. Now, I know this is a little bit removed from digitisation, but all of these things have affected the way that we have looked at policy. And we have changed our in-gallery photography policy based on what our audience needs are through the start of releasing our content. We have a Flickr group where people post all their photos from their journey around the museum, and we share that back. Now I'm just going to finish, I've got a lot of slides, on this project which I'm really passionate about, and I think that in terms of perhaps a what's next project, I think this is kind of, at a small scale, the future of where aggregated collections are going. So we're doing a partnership with History Pin. It's called the Australian Memory Project, and it's about pinning memory, pinning content, audio-visual, photos, letters, onto a map on Australia about sharing content. Now this will be a first because you will have aggregated collections not just from public institutions, cultural institutions at the high level, but you'll have, regional libraries, councils, and the public all pinning content onto a certain location to share mainly a story. And I think this is, you know, it's happening now, but again, we need to think about our collections and how they sit in these other platforms and presences. So we want a rich, diverse, multi-layered look at Australia and who we are, who we've been. So we're asking people to pull content out of their collections and help celebrate this kind of shared cultural heritage of Australia. The aim is that it will allow a lot of different voices to have a strong voice in this platform, including the public. So I've already seen one example of one glass plate negative that we have pinned to, I think it's Clovelly Beach, where we didn't have a lot of information around it. The Benevolent Society have pinned a glass plate negative of a very similar nature, children in their bathing suits down at the beach, and like lots of children. And from speaking with them, it turns out that they have the story. The Benevolent Society told us that they used to take the children down to the beach on the weekend to have play and swim. And, you know, we didn't really have that information, but you can kind of see at that sort of lower level what's going to happen when people start pinning more content that they may have around certain locations. The tools are free. You know, using simple tools that are free can really help your organisation. This is something you can do now. It doesn't cost. You can create your own tours, you can have your own channel, you can have your own presence, you can license your content in the way that you want, whether it's in copyright, Creative Commons, out of copyright. You can share your story, which I think is really the strength around this project. And there's mobile tools, they've built mobile tools that you can use already, and your channel will exist. So you can layer your photographs in real time. And who knows where they may turn up. So, just finishing up again, I think these are the things that I thought about when deciding what's next for us here in terms of digitisation, access, audience behaviour and technology. So, thank you.